Salutations, all. Welcome back. In 2020, I accurately forecasted Joe Biden's electoral college victory of 306 to 232. This video showcases my revised electoral map forecast for Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. This electoral cycle has undoubtedly been one of the most consequential in American history. Merely 5 months earlier, Joe Biden was anticipated to be the Democratic nominee. However, he withdrew from the contest in mid-July, allowing Kamala Harris to become the lead on the ticket. In August and September, the election appeared exceedingly competitive, with many individuals on the left expecting Harris's triumph. Nevertheless, I have upheld consistency in my predictions during this period. We will commence by analyzing the probable outcomes for Donald Trump, focusing on two pivotal scenarios. Alaska, a state he has secured by double-digit margins in the previous two elections and is unlikely to lose despite its recent liberal inclinations, and Maine's second district, which he is expected to win for a third successive time. Additionally, in the Midwest, we have Iowa and Ohio. In 2020, these two states were anticipated to be highly competitive, with surveys indicating that Trump would prevail by a margin of merely 1%. Nonetheless, he ultimately achieved victory in Iowa and Ohio by an 8-point margin in both. Currently, polling suggests that Trump leads by approximately 6 to 8 points in these contests, perhaps enabling him to surpass the double-digit threshold. However, this margin will be insufficient for these races to be considered secure. Trump is improbable to achieve victory in Iowa and Ohio by margins exceeding 15 points. These states are anticipated to stay reliable for the outgoing president, granting him an additional 23 electoral votes. Additionally, 2 more states within the Sun Belt are anticipated to endorse Trump. We will first with Texas, where polls revealed that Trump held a slender lead of 2020, a state he subsequently secured. He ultimately triumphed by a margin of 6 votes, followed by a 9-vote margin in 2016. He is currently positioned for his most substantial advantage to date, as polling in Texas reveals a 10 lead. He may near the 15 threshold, a benchmark that no Republican has attained since Mitt Romney in 2012. Texas is clearly moving leftward and is less Republican than in prior years. Yet, it appears improbable that the state will mostly become Democratic for at least the next 2 to 3 decades. Evaluate the quantity of folks that Texas Democrats need to persuade. Achieving success in Texas necessitates the mobilization of millions of votes. Nevertheless, this appears improbable in the foreseeable future, indicating that Texas is likely to remain primarily Republican. Florida has been one of the most competitive states in the country. In 2012, it was the sole battleground state on the election map, determined by a margin of 2 points or less. In 2016, Trump secured victory by a narrow margin of 1.2. Before exploring the details, kindly subscribe, like this video, and express your thoughts in the comments area. I am grateful for your assistance. In 2020, contrary to expectations that Joe Biden would prevail in Florida, he not only underperformed, but also had results inferior to Clinton's from 4 years prior, with Trump's margin expanding. Florida is anticipated to experience a significant increase in support for Trump, similar to the period from 2016 to 2020. He is expected to secure victory in the Sunshine State by a margin of approximately 10 percentage points, either slightly below or above that threshold. Consequently, when accounting for all verified and likely states, Donald Trump currently possesses 219 electoral votes, just 51 votes away from the presidency. Kamala Harris must strengthen her standing as we evaluate her prospective states, beginning with Oregon, which endorsed Hillary Clinton in 2016. The state is less liberal than its 2 neighboring states. Still, the 2022 governor election was decided by a narrow margin, ultimately resulting in a Democratic victory. Moreover, we consider New York and New Jersey to be 2 states that are less advanced than their northeastern peers. Joe Biden secured substantial margins in 2020, Kamala Harris is unlikely to replicate his success. New Jersey had a pronounced blue alignment, whereas New York shifted to blue by a margin of 23 points. Kamala Harris may be fortunate to secure victory by even half that margin, given the Democrats' declining performance in New York, which has lost its former strength. Consequently, both states are predisposed to endorse the vice president. Furthermore, Kamala Harris is expected to win in Colorado by a margin of 7 points, despite Joe Biden's 14-point victory in the prior election cycle. Colorado is going to be a lot more competitive, but considering just how blue it was in 2020, it's unlikely that this state really gets that close, and so we're now left with the 12 most competitive races in the country, as well as the 2nd District of Mid. It is going to be these states that will actually decide who the 47th president is going to be. They make up less than a quarter of the Electoral College's 538 votes, but they really do have all the power when it comes to picking our next commander-in-chief. And so we're now going to fill in the lean states for both candidates. These are states that are going to go to or trump by margins of 2 to 7. And so this time we'll start with the lean Harris states just to get them out of the way, because obviously we know that this election is going to come down to a group of 7, these 7 key battlegrounds. Now the lean states for Harris, they're all states that Joe Biden carried by likely margins. From 4 years ago, these states were not that close last time, but they are significantly more competitive now that Harris is at the top of the ticket. We're going to start off out west in New Mexico. Harris is poised to achieve a triumph by nearly 7 points. The state can become competitive. For example, in the 2016 election, Clinton won by a slim margin of 8. Harris's performance may deteriorate more as Hispanic voters in New Mexico progressively embrace conservative ideologies. Additionally, we have Minnesota, the domicile of Tim Walz. This is significant. It is the home state of Harris's running partner, and she is unlikely to surpass expectations. Joe Biden's campaign secured a victory in Minnesota by a margin of 7 points, with Kamala Harris as his running mate, despite her tenuous connections to the state. In 2016, she explicitly cites California as her state of origin. Hillary Clinton secured a narrow victory in the state, indicating that Trump may emerge as a significant challenger in this region. The choice of barriers likely protected Kamala Harris from a catastrophic loss. Yet, it has not allowed her to surpass the incumbent president's performance. Only 3 additional lean blue states remain in Nebraska's 2nd District, which Harris is anticipated to win by nearly 5 points following the 2021 redistricting. The 2nd District is becoming more liberal, including Omaha and its neighboring suburbs, and stretching northeast to New Hampshire and Maine, 2 states that were fiercely contested in 2016. Clinton secured a narrow victory in New Hampshire by less than half a percentage point and in Maine by fewer than 3 points. Although Harris is not anticipated to score as poorly as Clinton, she is also not projected to exceed Biden's performance, who secured victory in New Hampshire by 7 points and in Maine by 9. As a result, both demographics are expected to endorse the Democratic Party. In Virginia, the competition is as intense as it was in 2016, when Hillary Clinton won by a narrow 5-point margin, despite her running mate Tim Kaine being a sitting senator from the state. It was unlikely that she would secure victory in the state by a significant margin. In 2020, Joe Biden achieved victory in Virginia by a margin of 10.1. The probability of a Republican triumph in Virginia seems reduced, as the state is anticipated to be significantly more competitive than it was 4 years ago. Upon evaluating all solid, probable, and favorable Democratic states, Biden has secured 226 electoral votes, narrowly following Donald Trump, who has 219. It is essential to acknowledge that we have not yet examined the lean Republican states. The 7 critical battleground states, often depicted in yellow on political maps, are essential. The results in other states are mostly decided. The Republican-leaning states demonstrate Trump's robust success in expected tightly contested elections. We shall delineate Trump's trajectory to success, emphasizing states he is anticipated to take by substantial margins, alongside those that will be the most contentious among the 7, commencing with Arizona. This state is expected to vote more conservatively than Georgia and North Carolina, diverging from its voting trends in 2016 and 2020. In 2016, Trump won Arizona by 3.5, but later lost it to Joe Biden by 0.3. Arizona is a competitive state historically aligned with the Republican Party. However, it has shifted leftward over the past decade and is presently represented by 2 Democratic senators. The Republican Party has encountered difficulties in candidate selection for down-ballot races, evidenced by Kari Lake's failure in the 2022 gubernatorial election and her following loss to Ruben Gallego in the Senate race. Martha McSally's 2 unsuccessful campaigns have further hindered Republican ambition. Despite these hurdles, Republicans possess the ability to secure victories in Arizona contingent upon improved candidate selections. Donald Trump, as a powerful candidate, is poised to accomplish success in Arizona, which is expected to benefit the Republican Party. I currently anticipate a victory margin of approximately 3 for the former president in the eastern region. Furthermore, early voting statistics in Georgia and North Carolina appear favorable for Republicans, indicating that Trump is likely to secure victories in both states. Despite achieving victory in North Carolina in 2020, he lost Georgia, the most contentious state in the country. Biden was the first Democrat to secure victory since Bill Clinton in 1992, similar to Arizona. Georgia has consistently functioned as a Republican bastion, supporting Trump by 5 points in 2016, Romney by 8 in 2012, and McCain by 5 in 2008. During the Bush era, a discernible preference for Republicans exceeded 16 points. Consequently, Georgia is expected to revert to Republican dominance, but with a slim margin for Trump. This represents a supplementary victory for the former president, who is expected to secure North Carolina, the one swing state he has won in both previous elections. Trump currently holds 262 electoral votes and needs to secure any 3 of the remaining upper Midwestern states to surpass 270. Nevada will be insufficient. We will commence in Pennsylvania. This state is likely the foremost supporter of Trump, given its geographical position between Michigan and Wisconsin in terms of political alignment. Kamala Harris designated Tim Wells as her vice presidential nominee. Minnesota significantly impacts Wisconsin, potentially providing a marginal advantage to the state. Hence, Pennsylvania is anticipated to be the pivotal factor that allows Trump to exceed 270 electoral votes. He secured success in the state in 2016, along with Michigan and Wisconsin, allowing him to score triumphs in these 3 contests in 2020, although he lost Pennsylvania by 1.2. He presently leads in the polls by approximately 1. He will certainly surpass expectations and reclaim Pennsylvania. Consequently, the election is effectively concluded. The extent of Trump's victory in the Electoral College is inconsequential. He is poised to acquire other states, particularly the tilt state, where outcomes will be determined by a margin of 2 percentage points or less, starting with Wisconsin and Michigan. If Trump secures victory in Pennsylvania, it is unlikely he will lose these contests. All 3 of these states, referred to as the former Blue Wall states, consistently endorse the same candidate. The last instance in which they did not support the same candidate occurred during the 1988 election. From 1992 until 2016, they unwaveringly endorsed the Democratic Party, at which point Trump secured victories in all 3 cases. In 2020, Joe Biden reinstated their support. I anticipate no break from this tendency. I expect all 3 will converge on the same candidate, perhaps the former president. Nevada has consistently thwarted Republican success in all competitive states for the past 2 decades. Nevada is the only state that Donald Trump has yet to secure, but this will alter in 5 days. Nevada is expected to support the Republican Party, having shifted conservatively during the past decade. Republicans secured the governorship with Joe Lombardo, who ousted the Democratic incumbent Steve Sisolak. With the onset of November, I predict that Donald Trump will obtain 312 electoral votes. Kamala Harris' 226 signifies the most abysmal Democratic performance since 1988. Harris is currently facing significant challenges, whilst Donald Trump enjoys a notably advantageous position in the electoral cycle. Trump is capitalizing on this favorable situation. I appreciate your attention. Please be sure you like, comment, and subscribe promptly.